please.
Thank you very much, Presiding Officer. Human rights are just fundamental to each and everyone's existence. There can be absolutely no question of diluting them. But before I go into the substantive part of my speech, maybe I should alert Mr Rumbles and Mr Tompkins to the work of the Equality and Human Rights Committee on prisoner voting rights, and I'd welcome any contributions that they would like to make to that. This Parliament's taken some action on that. That's why this motion is very important, Presiding Officer. It's absolutely intrinsic to our strongly held views of equality, justice, dignity and respect, and we need to lock these down permanently. Clearly the same does not apply for Theresa May's government. And maybe Mr Tompkins can find out for his pals at the UK Government why the Justice and Home Affairs paper on Brexit makes no reference to Scots law if he's such a fan of Scots law. But make no mistake about it, our human rights are under a threat, not only from the seen and unseen consequences of Brexit, but also from the internal politics of the Tory party. We've just heard some of it. This is a UK Conservative government that has twice, once in 2010, once in 2015, in their manifestos, promised to scrap the Human Rights Act. So let's just repeat that. Not once, but twice pledged to scrap the Human Rights Act. And nothing more than a showpiece, pandering, olive branch to the right-wing factions. The same right-wing faction that forced the hand of David Cameron and brought forward an unwanted, unnecessary and damaging European Union referendum. That Scots would now vote 71% in favour of remaining in the EU if there was a referendum today reveals just how much the lies of the Leavers impacted on votes in June last year. Reality is really biting now. Reality is setting in that our fundamental human rights are at risk as a result of Brexit. And if you can't see that, I'm sorry, but you must be blind to the effects of it. We have all have the right to life, we know that. We have the right to freedom from violence and degrading treatment, freedom from discrimination, freedom from fear and freedom from want. We want to have the right to have an adequate standard of living, to have a safe home to support good physical and mental health. Presiding Officer, this Scottish Government has given explicit pledges that in a 10-year mental health strategy, a welcome and progressive step showing Scotland is leading the way on human rights. But I've seen, when I was on the Social Security Committee, I've seen from people like Black Triangle, I've seen from people who come to my constituency surgeries, the effect that the welfare reforms are having on them. We also, Presiding Officer, have the right to self-determination. And I would like to pledge my support in this chamber, and I hope many of my colleagues would too, to the Catalan people for their right to self-determination and a free from interference referendum. Presiding Officer, we also need to lead the way in clamping down harder. We've clamped down on human trafficking, on criminalising revenge porn, on recognising the rights of the LGBTI community and on protecting refugees, especially the ones who are fleeing from persecution. But we have people in this country fleeing from persecution, fleeing from Tory persecution. The rights of all, including the rights of those persons with a disability, something, and I'm not going to shy away from saying this, and it should be said over and over and over again. The UN Committee on the Rights of Persons with Disability has laid it out plain. Not only has there been a grave and systematic violation of human rights of people with disabilities, but it is now a human catastrophe. Presiding Officer, the European referendum regrettably shone a light into some dark corners. It showed us some inequalities, it showed poverty, it showed exclusion, it showed discrimination, and it gave us a rise in xenophobia. In Scotland, we reject those attitudes. In Scotland, we have proven our will, not by words, but by actions. We will lead where others will follow, and we will act where others won't, including the UK Government. And I, along with this Scottish Government, will defend and promote our human rights, underpinned by our determined and long-held values of respect, dignity and equality for all. Maybe the Tories in this chamber should try it.
Thank you very much.